tonight. Weather Authority Chief Meteorologist Dan. We have to be careful when we're anything that could spark a fire.
Yeah, and as we look back at our April rainfall, here's the climate data for you. And now this right here, this column is how much rain you normally see during the month of April. So a lot of locations only get about an inch of rain, like Salinas, Monterey, inch and a half in Watsonville, Gilroy, King City about an inch, the Santa Cruz Mountains usually over 3 inches. But this is how much we got. So 0.04 of an inch in Salinas, 1/100 of an inch in Monterey. Hey, Watsonville, you got 1/4 of an inch of rain. That all came on one day, but look at where we are in percent of normal during the month of April. Some cases just 1%. So a very dry end to our rainy season. And while it is still possible to get some precipitation during the month of May, it just doesn't happen too frequently. Usually we see 1 or 2 weather systems that bring very light precipitation to the region. At the time, I'm not seeing anything in the models that lead me to believe that we're going to see anything outside of some drizzle anytime soon. Anytime you have low clouds, you can get drizzle. In fact, we may see some drizzle out there tonight as our marine layer continues to deepen in advance of this weather system off to our west. And weather systems often bring rain, but in this case, that's not going to happen as most of its energy is going to be way off to the north. But as I mentioned, it is deepening the marine layer. We are seeing that happen out there today with the increase in low clouds and the cooler air beginning to make it inland. With that said, a little drizzle will be possible tonight. I just don't expect it to be widespread. Also, as this thing moves in, some winds will be picking up tomorrow. There's a gale warning that goes into effect at 3 p.m. from Point Pinos, which is in Pacific Grove, down to Point Piedras Blancas, which is just south of the San Luis Obispo County line. And that includes all near coastal waters. So if you're planning on taking a pleasure craft out there tomorrow, maybe think again and find some safe harbor, as we'll see wind gusts up to 40 knots possible, and it'll make things a little hazardous for mariners out there. So we look at overnight conditions, the low clouds filling in around the bay. There's a chance we could see a little bit of fog, potentially a bit of drizzle again overnight tonight. And some of those low clouds will meander into some of the inland valleys as well. During the day tomorrow, we'll see some clearing in the morning, but patchy low clouds likely to continue to be on the south and east sides of the bay at times during the day. So we're going to be a little cloudier tomorrow, just like we were today. And then tomorrow night, those clouds should thicken back up again. And temperatures across the board still heading downward. It'll still be nice. Santa Cruz, you're up to about 70 degrees. We're not in a cold air mass per se, so it's still fairly mild, but certainly cooler than we've been over the last several days. Cooling into the low 80s in Ben Lomond and Boulder Creek, 70s elsewhere in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and 60s for the most part for most coastal locations in Santa Cruz County. Watsonville barely touching the 70s tomorrow. Won't get there in Salinas, but Hollister gets into the low 80s. We'll reach the mid 80s in Gilroy. Back into the 60s, Castroville Marina, the Monterey Peninsula and vicinity. Temperatures, we should be in the mid 60s this time of year, so you're a little cool with the low clouds and the cooler air mass in place for this time of year anyway. And then farther south, we'll see temperatures raising from the 70s to the 80s if you head south on 101. The Pinnacle is still pretty toasty tomorrow, especially up in the higher elevations. If you're taking the High Peaks Trail, it'll be pretty toasty up on top of those rocks. Keep that in mind. Carmel Valley and Big Sur looking beautiful with mid 70s. Over the next 7, temperatures on the coast again should be in the mid 60s this time of year and won't really alter from that all that much. So maybe a few degrees short or a couple of degrees over the next 7 days, but not much. So pretty consistent weather. Will be a little bit cooler Friday, even though we'll get more sunshine. It'll still be breezy for the next couple of days. Mother's Day looking very seasonable. Maybe a few low clouds in the morning, couple passing high clouds, but looking like a nice day. Next week, more of the same. Inland areas also cooling through Friday. That will be the coolest days. That trough passes by, but you'll see sunny conditions in the afternoon. The winds will be picking up again for the next couple of days in the valleys, especially. Mother's Day weekend looking nice if you don't mind the wind. And it looks like we are going to warm up a little bit as we head into next week.